In this video, I'll provide a brief overview of some of the financial tools available in Canvas through our publisher. So this Excel spreadsheet can be found in Canvas, and it has a variety of spreadsheets that can help you with your budgeting process. You don't have to submit these, they're not graded, but it is good practice for you to go through and get an understanding of how you can manage your money. So the first tab down here, it says Financial Documents and Records, and really this is just a checklist of all the various records that you should have on file somewhere. And so as you go through the list, it's helpful to familiarize yourself with the types of records that most people have. So you might have some money management records, and we'll dive into those in the later tabs. You'll likely have some personal and employment records. You have tax records, financial services and consumer credit records, records related to assets such as housing and automobile, insurance records, investment records, and estate planning and retirement. Now, as I go through this checklist, if some of these sound like you don't have them, as we go through this class and as we cover these topics, hopefully you'll begin to develop your portfolio of information in these different categories. Now, if we look back at the top, across the top are the various places that you might have these records stored. So if your records are located in a home file, maybe you have a filing cabinet at home, you can just check off where it's located, or you can type in and remind yourself where you can find it. Or perhaps you have a safety deposit box that has these information stored as well. Or these records might be in some other location, and you'll want to notate where that is, such as it's on your computer, on a hard drive, it's online in the cloud somewhere, perhaps in Dropbox. This is a great way to keep track of where all your records are. That way, if something comes up that you need to provide documentation, whether it's applying for a job or applying for a home loan or a car loan, and you're asked for particular records, you can look at your checklist and remind yourself where to find these records. Let's look at the next tab. It says Personal Balance Sheet. And so, as you read in the textbook, a personal balance sheet helps keep track of your current financial position. This looks at your assets and your liabilities to determine your net worth. So, as we scroll down, so as you can see, we have different types of assets that you want to keep track of, and you can just enter in the amount that you have on hand. And so for instance, your checking account balance, you might have $1,000 in there, so we'll enter in $1,000. You might have a savings account or other money market accounts, and then you'll want to enter the value there. The cash value of your life insurance or any other liquid assets, that's assets you can quickly pull out that you want to keep track here. If we scroll down further, we've got household assets and possessions. These are things that are not as easy to liquidate, but you can, just takes a bit of time. And so this might be in the form of furniture, equipment, jewelry, your house, your car, or other assets. And then there's also the investment assets, certificates, CDs, stocks and bonds, retirement accounts, mutual funds, or 401ks. So you want to put all of your amounts in here. So the gray cells will total up the values that you enter into the light gray cells. Scrolling down further, here are our liabilities. So this is money you owe somewhere. Your current liabilities would be like your credit card balances and loan balances or any other debts that you might owe. Then you have your long-term liabilities, such as a mortgage payment. And for your net worth, it'll take your assets minus your liabilities. The formula is already set up in Excel, so you'll see a number appear here based on what you enter above in the assets and liabilities. Let's go ahead and look at your cash flow statement. So clicking on my third tab here, so the personal cash flow statement lets you keep track of money that goes in and out of your life. It's recommended that you can use this on a 1 month or a 3 month basis. I'd start with the 1 month, see how it goes, and then you can do a 3 month afterwards. So for instance, for the month ending, let's say we'll do the month ending of January. And as I go through all of my bank statements and credit cards and paychecks and pay stubs, my actual amounts for the month of January, I'll go ahead and enter that into this cash flow statement spreadsheet. So for my inflows, this is all the money coming in. So let's say salary or alimony, child support, any form of money that's coming in. That includes any side gigs if you drive for Uber or Lyft or do side jobs here and there. And then for the cash flows, this is all money that you're paying out to others, whether it's rent or mortgage or loan payments, insurance, car, house, all forms. You can type in Other forms of expenses, perhaps I pay child support to someone. I could put child support there, and then I know I pay $500 a month for child support, for instance. If I scroll down further, our variable expenses, so these are expenses that vary on a monthly basis. I will look at what I spent in January and I will enter in how much I spent on food and clothing, my utilities, transportation, and if I have some other categories, I can include that here. So then everything you enter in will get calculated on the right hand side in the dark gray. And then that will let you know if you are operating under a surplus, meaning you've got extra money left over, or a deficit, meaning you're spending more than you're bringing in for income. If you do have a surplus, you should then take that surplus and apply it towards either emergency funds or financial goal savings or something else. Maybe you've got a vacation savings set up because you want to go somewhere in the summer. So the cash flow is a great way after the fact to see what you did this past month. So let's go ahead and look at the last tab here. This is our personal budget tab. And so for developing a personal budget, this is where you'll keep track of what you plan on spending and plan on bringing in. And then you'll also enter in your actual amounts. So this will let you know how much variation you're experiencing and what you think you'll bring in and spend versus what actually happened. So that cash flow statement that we just did, which was the actuals, could potentially go right here in this column. And then what needs to go in the budget is what you had planned to spend. So you'll see here in the spreadsheet, there's already values set up at $10, just so you can see a value in there. But go through and change it to be what you budget. So I think I'm going to bring in $3,000 a month. And then when I look at my paycheck at the end of the month of January, the actual amount, let's say, was $2,755. So you can see what we plan in general versus what actually happened. There was a negative variance. So I brought in slightly less than what I had planned for. And so you'll go through and enter in what you budget on a monthly basis. And then you can see how it compares to your actual at the end of the month. As you scroll down, and the categories here are the same as you saw in the cash flow statement, but you'll be able to see the variation between your budgeted expenses versus your actual expenses, as well as your budgeted income versus your actual income. And that way, that can help you budget in the future, make decisions on what you need to do in terms of your budget, perhaps spend less in some of your areas of expense, or perhaps find other forms of income to increase what's coming in. So this is a great tool for like a before and after to see how you did. Again, this can be done for a 1 month or 3 month basis. I recommend doing 1 month first, get a good grasp on how the tool works, and then when you're ready, try the 3 month. One last thing I want to touch on is in the slides that I provide to supplement some of the material, there is a slide on the ratios for evaluating your financial progress. So you read about this in the textbook, but I also wanted to put it in a neat slide where you can go in and do some quick math to see what your debt ratio looks like, your current ratio, liquidity, debt to payments, and savings ratio. This will let you know how you are doing financially. And so you can establish goals or targets for where you want to be financially and then use the ratios to grade yourself. So this is a great way to do a check-in on your financial performance. Just like in companies, similar ratios are done to evaluate if a company is doing well. Is the company managing its money appropriately? Does it have enough savings? Does it have an appropriate amount of debt? The same thing can be done for individuals. So you are your own company, and you should be calculating these ratios to see where you're at. So if you have any questions, just let me know.